In this video, we'll see about the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. The lateral wall of the nasal cavity is contributed by the nasal bone, the frontal process of the maxilla, the lacrimal bone, the superior and the middle concha of the ethmoid bone. Then you have the inferior nasal concha, then the perpendicular plate of the palatine bone, and by the medial pterygoid plate of the sphenoid bone. The bony wall is covered by the mucous membrane and it projects medially as curved plate of three nasal conchae. The inferior nasal concha is a separate bone and it presents a lower free margin which extends horizontally backwards and ends about 1.25 cm in front of the pharyngeal opening of the auditory tube. The space under cover of the inferior concha is known as the inferior meatus, which receives the termination of the nasolacrimal duct in its anterior part. So in this picture, you can see this is the inferior meatus, which is the space under cover of the inferior concha, so which receives the opening of the nasolacrimal duct in its anterior part. The inferior meatus is continuous in front with the lateral wall of the vestibule of the nose. So this is the vestibule, so it becomes continuous with the lateral wall of the vestibule of the nose. The middle and the superior concave are the parts of the ethmoidal labyrinth. The free lower border of the middle concha is mostly horizontal and lies at the level with the lower surface of the body of the sphenoid. The anterior part of the lower border presents a short vertical limb. The space under cover of the middle concha forms a middle meatus. Here the middle concha is removed to show the middle meatus. The lateral wall of the middle meatus is formed by the bulla ethmoidalis. So this is the bulla ethmoidalis and the hiatus semilunaris. So this is a hiatus semilunaris. So these are present in the lateral wall of the middle meatus. The bulla ethmoidalis is a bony bulging containing the middle ethmoidal air sinuses which opens into the middle meatus on or above the bulla. So this is the hiatus semilunaris. The hiatus semilunaris is a crescentic space between the bulla, which is above and behind. So this is the hiatus. So the bulla is present above and behind, and in front and below you have the uncinate process of the ethmoid bone. So this is the uncinate process. So in between the uncinate process and the bulla you have the hiatus semilunaris. The floor of the hiatus receives the opening of the maxillary air sinus immediately below the bulla. A mucous diverticulum, which is known as the ethmoidal infundibulum, extends upward from the anterior part of the hiatus through the ethmoidal labyrinth. The wall of the infundibulum receives the anterior ethmoidal air sinuses and the frontal sinus open on the summit of the infundibulum directly or through the frontonasal duct. Therefore, the middle meatus receives the opening of the following paranasal air sinuses: the maxillary, the frontal, the anterior ethmoidal and the middle ethmoidal air sinuses. Anteriorly, this is the middle meatus, so this becomes continuous with the atrium of the nasal cavity. So this is known as the atrium of the nasal cavity, which is limited above by a mucous ridge that is known as the ager nasae, which slopes downwards and forward. And here you can see this is the vestibule and this is the atrium. So between the vestibule and the atrium you have a mucocutaneous ridge that is known as the Lyman nasae. So this is a vestibule, this is a Lyman nasae and this is the atrium, and here you have the agar nasae. This is the superior concha. which extends anteroposteriorly above the posterior half of the middle concha. The space under cover of the superior concha is known as the superior meatus, into which the posterior ethmoidal air sinus is open. The area intervening between the superior concha and the nasal roof is known as the supreme meatus, which is sometimes traversed by the highest concha. Above and behind the superior concha lies the depression that is known as the sphenoethmoidal recess. The posterior wall of the sphenoethmoidal recess receives the opening of the sphenoidal air sinus. Next we'll see the arterial supply of the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. Similar to the nasal septum, the lateral wall is supplied by the branches of ophthalmic, maxillary and the facial artery. The branches are arranged into four quadrants. The anterosuperior quadrant is supplied by the anterior ethmoidal artery from the ophthalmic artery. The anteroinferior quadrant is supplied by the alar branches of the facial artery and the terminal branches of the greater palatine artery. And the posterosuperior quadrant is supplied by the sphenopalatine branch of the maxillary artery. The posterior-inferior quadrant is supplied by the greater palatine artery, the branches which pierces the perpendicular plate of the palatine bone. Next we'll see the venous drainage. The veins form a plexus from which the blood drains into the facial vein in front, the retropharyngeal vein and the pterygoid venous plexus behind, and into the inferior cerebral veins above. Next we'll see the lymphatic drainage. From the anterior half of the lateral wall, the lymphatics drain into the submandibular group of lymph node. From its posterior half, it drains into the retropharyngeal group of lymph node and also to the upper deep cervical group of lymph nodes. Next we'll see about the nerve supply, the sensory supply, the sense of smell, the special sensation from the olfactory zone is supplied by the olfactory nerves. The nerves of the general sense from the rest of the lateral wall, they are derived from the trigeminal nerve and they are distributed as follows. The anterosuperior quadrant is supplied by the anterior ethmoidal nerve, which is a branch from the ophthalmic division of the trigeminal nerve. The anteroinferior quadrant is supplied by the anterior superior alveolar nerve from the maxillary division of the trigeminal nerve. The posterior quadrant is supplied by the posterior lateral nasal branches of the pterygopalatine ganglion, which is derived from the maxillary division of the trigeminal nerve. The posterior-inferior quadrant is supplied by the anterior palatine branches of the pterygopalatine ganglion. Again, it is from the maxillary division of the trigeminal nerve. The secretomotor supply. The postganglionic secretomotor fibers for the nasal glands are derived from the pterygopalatine ganglion, which receives the preganglionic fibers from the superior salivatory nucleus of the facial nerve. The vasomotor supply. They are derived from the sympathetic system. The preganglionic fibers arises from the lateral horn cells of upper 3 or 4 thoracic segments of the spinal cord, and the postganglionic fibers are derived from the superior cervical sympathetic ganglion. Next we'll see about the epithelial lining of the nasal cavity. The nasal cavity is subdivided into three regions: the vestibule, the respiratory and the olfactory regions. This is the vestibule. The vestibule is the slightly dilated area above the nostril and it is lined by skin, which is provided with coarse hair, sebaceous and the sweat glands. The lateral wall of each vestibule is formed by the ala and the medial wall is formed by the mobile part of the nasal septum. The coarse and the stiff hair filter the foreign particles during inhalation. Next we'll see about the respiratory region, which serves as a main air passage and it is lined by the mucous membrane, which is adherent to the underlying bones or cartilages. The paranasal sinuses open into the respiratory region. The respiratory epithelium is lined by ciliated pseudostratified columnar epithelium resting on a basement membrane, and it is provided with the goblet cells and numerous mucus and serous glands. The mucus secretion by the goblet cells and the mucus glands makes the surface sticky and entraps the injurious inhaled particles and microorganisms. The entrapped materials are swayed backward by the movement of the cilia to the nasopharynx, where they are ejected by sneezing or coughing reflex. Thus, the ciliated epithelium covered by a blanket of the mucus helps in the natural defensive mechanism by establishing a ciliary rejection current. The lamina propria beneath the surface epithelium contains, in addition to glands, the erectile vascular spaces which communicates with arterioles and venules. Normally, the vascular spaces remain collapsed, but in allergy, these spaces are distended with blood due to vasodilatation and produces a running nose. The activity of erectile cavernous tissue of nasal mucosa is controlled in part by circulating the sex hormones. So this is sometimes manifested in a few females by nasal bleeding during menstruation, that is known as the vicarious menstruation. Next we'll see about the olfactory region. This occupies the roof and the adjoining septal and the lateral walls of the nasal cavity above the superior concha. In surface area, it covers about 2 cm square in each half of the nasal cavity. The mucous membrane of the olfactory region is yellowish in color and it is lined by the bipolar olfactory cells, the tall columnar cells and the basal cells which rest on the common basement membrane. So when you see these are the bipolar olfactory cells. So they present the peripheral process and central process. The peripheral process acts as a dendrites which are brought to the surface by a knob-like elevation. These are provided with olfactory cilia which floats in a blanket of serous fluid, and they respond to the odorous stimuli in a soluble form. The central process, they form the axons which assemble to form bundles which are 20 in number on each side. The latter pierces the cribriform plate of the ethmoid and they synapse with the mitral cells. So these are the mitral cells. So they synapse with the mitral cells of the olfactory bulb. The olfactory cells, they act as the first order of receptor neurons which are brought to the surface of the mucous membrane. Eventually, the olfactory cells are likely to be destroyed by noxious agents, and to replenish the loss, some of the basal cells of the olfactory epithelium, they proliferate and differentiate into olfactory cells. Such phenomenon is peculiar in this region, since there is a common observation that nerve cells do not divide after birth. When you see the function of the nasal cavity, it is primarily meant for olfaction and it forms the cephalic part of the respiratory passage and acts as a air conditioning chamber by adding humidity and temperature to the inspired air. It protects the air passages by filtering the foreign particles by coarse hair of the vestibule and provided a mucociliary barrier which moves the entrapped particle backward to nasopharynx where they are ejected by sneezing or coughing.